Want to travel back in time? Stick around and we'll do just that. Today we're going back to 1914, one more time before jumping again to 1917 and 1918. We'll start by zeroing in on a few more of the Army's physical training routines. Then we'll explore a daily schedule and find out how the troops responded to it. Remember that more folks came from rural settings back then, but the military mindset was concentrated to a thin cross-section of society due to the Army's decline up to that moment. When you hear that the doughboys were called rookies, that's the background. A century hasn't changed much. The names are different, but they mean the same thing. Naturally, the centerpiece of military life in 1914 was the rifle, specifically the 1903 Springfield '06. In this photo, you see a soldier performing a rifle drill, a training regimen that's still in use. What strikes me is that several rifle drills then were identical to those still in practice. I recall learning commands such as "Order, Arms! Port, Arms!" and a few others. The Manual of Physical Training shows quite a few more than I recall. I've forgotten quite a bit in 43 years, but check out the U.S. Army and Marine Corps drill teams on YouTube if you want to see a demonstration. Recruits also engaged in a series of apparatus side and long horse exercises. If you didn't know better, you might think they were training for the Olympics. I suspect these exercises came down from the cavalry. Other types of exercises involved dumbbells and clubs. There were also rope climbing exercises and all sorts of calisthenics that built not only strength, but agility and confidence. By the time recruits finished basic training, they were proud of what they had become. They paid handsomely for it, and it showed. Folks at home were also impressed, and this was often reflected in the correspondence of the time. Accounts vary, but the training day was regimented down to the minute. Letters from a Doughboy by Catherine Truesdell Schumacher includes the schedule shown in this screen capture. Here, the training day began with reveille at 6 a.m. and concluded with taps at 11 p.m. I've seen other accounts where training started at 5 a.m. In my personal experience, it started at 4:30 a.m. and ended at 9 p.m. with lights out. I believe the truth is somewhere between those extremes. It's probably safe to say that training began before reveille. In the Army, training begins before sunrise. Like today, recruits responded to their new way of life with a broad mixture of emotions. Yes, recruits cried themselves to sleep longing for their former way of life. Then, almost unexpectedly, humor erupted from the most unexpected incidents, and then they gained confidence. That hasn't changed either. Consider this account from Lyman Varney in Pershing's Crusaders by Richard S. Faulkner.
At morning roll call, the sergeant asked all the men who could type to step out. I and several others did, and we ended up cleaning mule barns.
Stick around. In Part 3, we'll continue this episode with a few more stories.